I'm Dale, and I'm the COO of Field Team 6. Before we start this particular event, I want to let you in on a secret. We're about to do a fair amount of bragging about all we've accomplished, all the odds we've beaten, all the records we've broken. The secret is that when we say we in fact mean you. So we are not bragging at you, we are bragging about you, about all you've accomplished, all the odds you've beaten, all the records you've broken. So we only have 3 paid staff. We have about 75 volunteer staff and over 35,000 volunteers in every state of the country. And we also have donors in every single state. You make everything we do possible. So thank you for that. Okay, let's dive in. Please post questions for this panel in the chat, starting with the word ask. And at the end, we'll get to as many of those as we can. If you miss anything for any reason today, don't worry. We'll be turning all of this content today into recordings and podcasts and then posting them on our website in a few days so you can catch up and watch them or listen on your own time. And now I'll hand it over to the fearless founder of Field Team 6, Jason Boleyn. Jason, have you lost weight?
Thank you for asking me that because I wrote it in the script. A few ounces, about 10 M&Ms. Thank you for asking. And what Dale is saying is absolutely right. Field Team 6 is a machine that mints Democrats. Your volunteer hours and your donor dollars are the fuel. So in this session, you'll find out who Field Team 6 is, what we do, what we've done since our 2019 start, and why it is the #1 best way to win elections. But first, let's acknowledge this moment. We are currently living through an ongoing fascist coup attempt. It is the most dangerous moment for our democracy since World War II. But here's what we all know that the media doesn't. We are part of the biggest, most effective organizing force in modern history. We know it as the resistance. It consists of millions of activists, mainly women, populating thousands of organizations across the country, like Indivisible, Run for Something, Field Team 6, and so many more. Many sprang up after the catastrophic 2016 election and have been learning and growing and scaling up ever since. That is over 8 years. That's more than 2 army stints. And here's our resume as the resistance. 2018, flipped the House blue. 2020, won it all. House, Senate, White House, blue trifecta. 2022, beat back a red wave against all odds. That is what the resistance, all of us, can do. Literal miracles. And yes, we lost in 24 because there is no team so good that it never loses. So listen up. Now is the time for more activism, not less. You think change happens in a straight line? Bullshit. Change is messy. Change is getting knocked on your ass and getting back up with dirt in your teeth and fire in your eyes. Yeah, we're down, we're bloodied, but you know what? Every single person on this Zoom has fought battles that would break most people. And you're not only still standing, you're coming to this Zoom to find out how you can help more. That is beautiful. The people out there who want to junk this democracy and sell it for parts, they're counting on us to quit. They expect us to quit. Our exhaustion and despair is their strategy. Are we going to give them that satisfaction? Hell no. What we're fighting for isn't just some abstract idea. It's real lives, real communities, real futures. When you're out there taking hits every day, remember why you showed up in the first place. Remember the faces of the people you love. Now, I want you to look around. Look at all the faces on this Zoom. We keep it a Zoom, not a webinar, on purpose because community is the points. You come for the cause, you stay for the people. You know, we come thinking we're going to go out of our bubble and talk to strangers, not realizing that everyone, all their fellow volunteers are strangers. And then after a little while, they're not strangers anymore, and we become something between an army and a family. So look around at the faces on this Zoom, all the good-hearted people from all over the country. And remember, the first time you went to an activist meeting, and realized there was a whole community of heroes there, a whole resistance that felt the same way you did and was willing to fight for it, remember the overwhelming gratitude you you felt for those people? Because I do. It changed my life. And you are now those people. Some of the people here today, this is their first meeting, and you are giving them that inspiration, that realization of the unstoppable power of our movement, of what we can do when we act together. So keep digging, keep volunteering, keep donating, keep fighting, keep lifting each other up, keep turning voices into votes, keep expanding the electorate to include all Americans. We don't stop until we take our democracy back, because that's who we are, that's what we do, and we're damn good at it. So let's show them what a comeback looks like. Okay, okay, deep breath. Before I get into what we've achieved, let's step back and look at the biggest picture. Whatever cause brought you into activism and brought you here today to this call, whether it is women's rights, civil rights, LGBTQ plus rights, workers' rights, voting rights, affordable housing, healthcare, college, preventing gun violence, addressing the climate crisis, or saving democracy itself, the only way to push those causes forward is to win elections. And the only way we do that is by registering more Democrats to vote, specifically in the swing states and districts, the battlegrounds where just a few voters can change an election outcome. Campaigns are so why voter registration? Why is voter registration the most direct way to win elections? That is a controversial thing to say. 99% of volunteers and donations go into getting out the vote, mobilizing existing votes. There is an imbalance there. We're over here in that 1%, registering new voters, expanding the party, expanding the electorate, bringing more people in, bringing more of our friends, more like-minded people who already share our values but don't know that they need to register as a Democrat to express those values within the system. We're bringing them in, getting them over that first biggest hurdle into the pool, where all the other lifeguards, all the organizations that exist, all the branches of the Democratic Party can get them out to vote. That is what we do uniquely. Campaigns are not the answer, at least alone. They're not the answer. The campaigns fight for a vote. We fight for a new voter who will give them that vote, but also vote for Democrats up and down the ballot, some for the rest of their lives. Campaigns leave in their wake TV, nothing. They spend millions, let me clarify, they spend consultants and campaigns, they spend millions and millions of dollars on TV ads that are there and gone. What we leave in our wake are new blue voters, human infrastructure that over time continues to push these swing places to the left. So with that, I will dive into a few numbers of what we did in the 22 midterms that are kind of staggering and absolutely relevant to what we are doing right now. Using our database, one-of-a-kind database of millions of unregistered likely Democrats, we reached out, we contacted 5 million of them. Out of those, 1.57 million registered. That's about 10 times the usual results of nonpartisan voter registration efforts. Out of those, 660,000 voted, about 42% in this midterm. Our cost per vote came down to $2.24, about $1 per voter. But when you break it down by who voted, it brings it up to $2.24. To put that in perspective, that's nuts. Okay. Democratic Party has spent $1,500 a vote. That's when they're doing this at all, but that's back in 2012 dollars, $1,500. Closest organizations to us currently spend $200 to $300. We do it for $2.24. That is how efficient and effective we are. I'm just gonna look quickly at one state, Wisconsin. we did this in 13 key states in 20 in 24. In 22, it was, I believe it was 11 states. But yes, in Wisconsin, you can see we contacted over 673,000 unregistered likely Democrats. Out of those, here's how many registered. These are hard numbers because we compare after the election, when secretaries of state update the voter rolls, we compare everyone in our database we reached out to those voter rolls, and we see, okay, these people registered and voted, and we can see in the states that record party what party preference they were. So out of these, over 287,000 registered as blue and purple, Democrats and independents. Out of those, 149,000 voted, far more than the margin of victory for Democratic Governor Tony Evers, who was able to pass fair legislative district maps into law for the first time in a generation. We had insane impact in Arizona, where we helped defeat winged purple monkey Carrie Lake in her race. And in Nevada, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto was not supposed to win in what was supposed to be this red wave election in 22. The voters that we registered and who voted were just over the entire victory margin of Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, whose reelection secured Democratic control of the Senate against all odds. So our impact is huge. We reached out, like I said, in 2022, we reached out to 5 million unregistered likely Democrats. Our goal in 24 was to double that from 5 to 10 million. And here to tell you that story, tell you what happened with that, and reveal how Field Team 6 scaled up our outreach in 24 is Patty Crane, a core member of Field Team 6 from the beginning, the CEO of her own marketing and communications firm for over 30 years, and the truly brilliant, one of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my life, leader of our volunteer analytics team. She put this presentation together despite having a beautiful and really brand new granddaughter. So thank you so much for all your all-nighters and your brilliance. Take it away, Patty.
Oh, Jason, thank you. And just give me the thumbs up that my headset is working. You can hear me okay? All right. Thanks, George. All right. Appreciate that so much. And yes, I have a new granddaughter, and I do this for all 3 of my granddaughters and everyone else's grandkids, because that's what we owe our posterity. That's what we owe our future. So I'm going to hit share screen now. And give me a thumbs up if you're seeing my title slide. Okay, you are. This is wonderful. Okay, the first thing I want to share is that Jason wasn't kidding when he was telling you that we really are a whole new model of success. We really are a one-of-a-kind partisan voter registration specialist, because there are party processes, or in the good old days, there were party processes, but typically partisan voter registration has not been a grassroots area until Jason founded Field Team 6 in 2019 and made it go real. So we're absolutely one of a kind. And the important thing about what we're doing, especially once the pandemic hit and as we've developed greater and greater expertise, is that we use powerful data modeling, because the people who are unregistered and likely Democrats, because that's not everybody, that's just a subset of all the unregistered people, are really hard to find. Unlike people who are already on the voter rolls, who millions of groups reach out to all the time, the unregistered people don't get too many texts, and they don't get too many emails, and they don't get too many phone calls, because nobody knows who they are, unless they're 18 years old and just aging in, etc. And if they're 18 years old, they're probably not in very many databases yet. So the deal is that the data modeling has always been important, but I have some wonderful things to share about what specifically has been going on with the data modeling. Okay, so we're both persuasion and mobilization. We refuse to enter that silly dialectic because we are doing both. And we use the partisan messaging, which is the problem with the nonpartisan voting registration. Thou should vote, instead. No, these should vote for Democrats because there are a million great reasons. And we use the 3 V's system that was pioneered by Way to Win and Anat Shenker Osorio. So we got to state our shared value at the opening of our message. We got to name the villain, and then we got to frame the future vision. We always pivot back around to that positive thing about what life will look like under Dems. And because, as some of the panels have already shared with you and the speakers have already said, we can't just say what we're against. We got to say what we're for. And that's an important part of Field Team 6 messaging. Okay, this has a coral bar at the top because this is an alert. Everybody's in the chat going, oh, goody, right? We're going to get all the results. And the answer is nope. Sorry, the results are still incomplete. The giant catalyst report only came out in the last, I don't know, 48 hours, that typically would come out in April. Everything with the secretaries of state, both red states and maybe some other states, is running late, and we're not the boss of that. Learning what you can't control is important. So we can only report the impact of Field Team 6 after all of that information is available. We have a data set of 42 million names out right now being analyzed and compared to 50 states and 5 territories Secretary of State lists, even though a few states are still incomplete on their voting history. But I just want to warn you, so if you're waiting for the yield ratios, so are we. Just want to know. Okay, let's talk about a little bit of context. I'm going to show you a thing that lots of people think is a shocker. Did you know that 2 decades ago, the Dems officially stopped funding year-round registration programs? 2 decades ago was a rough time for the Democratic Party, the Bush v. Gore situation, the early 2000s. And they had to make a bunch of choices about what to cut. And a thing that got cut was the year-round voter registration. And they said, oh, the unions will do it, the groups will do it, other people will do it. In some cases that happened, and in many, many cases that didn't happen because it didn't align with the mission of the other groups. So right now, what you see is sort of the inflatable voter registration in the last 90 days or 120 days of campaigns that state parties might be running. But in terms of the national DNC, this is a big conversation that's happening about what they should do. But you want to understand this context. All right, here's some more context. I want us to get a little bit of a different view of the election vote totals. This is, the media is not our friend when it comes to this, but let's look. Okay, so we're used to seeing this stuff. I hate to rub it in. Oh my gosh, looking at the fact that Harris got 75 million votes, but Trump got 77 million votes in November 2024. That's a problem. Happily, more people voted. You see, we got to 154 million people voting as compared to the much lower numbers of people voting back in 2016, but not as many people as in the Biden surge in 2020. So this is typically how we look at elections. And, there's Trump in 2016 with a million fewer votes than Clinton. But as we know, it was which states voted how, the Electoral College. All right, now take a look at this. When we actually look at the did not vote, as opposed to only looking at who voted for Harris and who voted for Trump, we still have 82 million people who did not vote. Oh my gosh, look at these 3 elections. In all cases, the biggest number on the page is the did not vote number. Wow. Okay. And what you may not know, and what will hurt your heart because you're at a voter registration summit and you care about our democracy, but since 1996. It was during the Clinton era that non-voters have started outnumbering the winning vote share in every election since 1996. Now, it's a little bit better than it was in terms of the relationship because we're chipping away at it. Yay, us, and yay, not yay, them, because they're chipping away at it too. But anyway, the non-voters are there. So take a look at this. Of the people who were eligible but didn't vote in the presidential in November 2024, 20 million of them were registered and they stayed home. And we've had a lot of conversations about who stayed home, but 62 million of them weren't even registered. Now, they're not all our peeps. We know that because when you look at the 154 million people who voted in the presidential election, you see that the Dem percentage, the people who call themselves Dem, 37.9%, is only a little bit more than the people who call themselves Republicans, 36.6. And meanwhile, another 23% or almost a quarter called themselves nonpartisan. And it's popular, particularly for younger people and disaffected people, to register as NPP, even in states that let them declare a party. So what our job is to look at the 62 million unregistered as of the November election going forward and find the unregistered likely Democrats among those 62 million people. And oh my gosh, if we can do that, it's going to be important. So thinking about what Jason just told us about what we were able to do in the 22 midterm elections, here are the crucial questions. All right, we delivered 1.57 million new blue and purple is our term for NPP people who could vote for us, and 2/3 of a million new votes. And a reminder that in most states, 90 to 92% of the people we registered as blue or purple. In a couple of states, it was in the 80s rather than in the 90s. But even our old data modeling, prior to this year's work by the analytics team, even our old data modeling had an 8.5 out of 10 chance of someone being sympathetic to blue and purple. And not going red, because we're not trying to trigger any red voters. All right, so the question is, could we double? Could we double that record-breaking outreach, which was a hernia in 2022? It was a big deal. So the other question is, could we scale up? We were so proud of how much we scaled up for 2022, but of course we knew that the challenge was even bigger. So here we go. All right, so here's the 5 million people we reached out to, 1.92 times per person, and we call that touches. A touch is a message, a text or a postcard or an email or a phone call. Anyway, here's our 5 million number, and here's the graph, the graphical thing saying that was our goal, that we were after 10 million. But here's the weirdest thing that happened to us. Only 8 million names were available from the political data vendors. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. We wanted to get to 10 million and we couldn't buy the names at any price. They said, nope, that's it. That's all we've got. And we said, this has to change. And I'm not going to name names on my analytics team, but I am so incredibly proud of these wonderful data scientists, mathematicians, coders, programmers, and other people who have engaged so much. And we went to a commercial vendor and we said, we've got to figure this out. We need to get our hands on more names, because we said we need 2 million more names that we haven't found yet. And so we took our positive results from 2022 and we said, analyze off of this, model off of this, because particularly off the people who registered as Dems in states that allow you to state that you belong to a party. Let's find out what these attributes are, use any commercial metrics we can, and model on it. So we did the new modeling, the proprietary modeling. This was not modeling that we could buy from any political consultant or anything. We had to do our own, but we had incredible gold mine of our own results to do the modeling on. And oh my gosh, we had such a breakthrough. It was so exciting. So in July, it took until July of last year, because it was in about April or May when the data vendors, the political vendors started to say, I'm sorry, you bought every name we can sell you that is a likely Dem at even only a 40 or 50% predictive level. So what happened in our breakthrough? Woo! Look at that. Okay, to me, this is an exciting moment. We figured out new ways to identify millions more of unregistered likely Democrats. So could we get from 5 million to 10 million? How about that number instead? How about 26 million unregistered likely Democrats that we were finally able to reach out to? That's pretty exciting. This was an incredible number. Okay, so where were these 26 million people? 90% of them were in these 13 battleground states because, okay, Idaho, or North Dakota or whatever, bless you. But what we got to do is we got to focus on the states where we have swinginess and where we have opportunities. There are some places like New York where we didn't work in the whole state, we worked in the targeted districts. And California was similar. And there are other states where you work your heart out statewide because it's really, really, really important. So this is 13 battleground states. And just to give you a sense of how many names we looked at in each state, believe it or not, the number one state, which was just the luck of the draw in terms of our data modeling, being able to find elusive new unregistered likely Democrats, it was Michigan over there on the left, where we were able to find and reach out to 3 million names. And you see that California and New York are on the smaller side over on the right because we only worked in selected districts. So look at that new state name called Others. So you see of our 26 million, only 2.2 million went to states outside of these 13 states. Okay, so here's the number of touches. Again, a touch is a message. And it was 84 million. And so instead of 1.92 per person average in the midterms, we got it up to 3.22, actually 3.22 touches per person. So just looking at these together, and this information will be available after this talk. Here they are. Here are these numbers showing. And so in several states, we got up to 7 or 8 or 9 million touches. That's pretty exciting. Okay, so this is what we did in the midterms in 2022. And we were so excruciatingly proud of it. 5.5 million texts. Wow, that was a big thing. Amazing. So these are the numbers, but let me show you what happened to these numbers. So here we go with the 23-24 in terms of outreach methods. Oh boy, instead of 5.5 million texts, we got to 47 million, including 7 million done as bring your own phone text, which is the hard way to do texting. And Field Team 6 volunteers are amazing at it. They did 7.1 million texts using bring your own phone, BYOP. Okay, 35 million emails. Oh my gosh. And again, remember, these are the people who don't already get a lot of emails because they're not on the voter rolls. We found them through other mechanisms and consumer databases and things like that. Okay, postcarders, you were all so proud of 1 million postcards, in 2022. It was killer. It was amazing. 2.5 million this time around. Oh my gosh, are we proud of our postcarders? It's just amazing. And finally, looking at phone calls, it was nearly 250,000. And anybody who's phone bank knows how hard it is to get to 100 calls, let alone to get to 250,000. So that's amazing. So we went from 9.6 million touches to 84 million touches to 26 million people. How cool is that? So there's the new slide with the new results that we're so proud of. What did it look like? All right, here's my little shout out. You see that little yellow sliver in the lower left, you know, at around 8 o'clock place? Um, because a 250,000 phone calls is such a tiny number compared to these huge numbers. It doesn't even show here, but I want to shout out the people who in the past, you know, loyally did the phone banking, and it's much harder to phone bank an unregistered person than it is to phone bank a registered person. So this is what it looks like, but I also want you to see how the timing looked just very quickly. I want you to know that it was in July 2024 when we had our data breakthrough and we could start acquiring all these new names to get past that 8 million barrier that we originally had and to break through. It's like bursting through the finish line here. And you see how the numbers just pushed and pushed and pushed forward. So it's a reminder that we don't have the results. Yeah, how many people registered and how many of the people who registered voted. We don't have that yet, but it will be available soon. And you can go to fieldteam6.org/newsletter sign up if you want to go ahead and be notified as soon as our impact report publishes those 42 million names that are being investigated, which is, you know, our 26 million new names plus the, you know, give or take 16 million names that were already in our database from earlier efforts. So that's where we are. And now it's my job to say, I'm so proud of the analytics team. I'm so proud of the volunteers for Field Team 6. And Jason, I'm so proud of you for founding a one-of-a-kind partisan voter registration entity that knows that we got to register Democrats to save the world. And I turn it back to you, Jason. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Patty. Thank you for all of that, and thank you to all the geniuses on the volunteer analytics team. Your work has leveled up and continues to level up the entire organization. What Patty described, I'm about to say something huge. What we did in 2024 was one of the biggest voter drives in American history. It may have been the biggest to play it safe. It's absolutely not even controversial to say it is one of the biggest voter drives in American history. Imagine if we could break that record in 2026. That is what your donations will go to fund. So I need to talk about what we've done this year, the plan for this November, and for next year, 26, and for 28. I just want to address in the chat, I've seen some people saying, I get too many texts. Just want to remind you all, the people that we are emailing, texting, calling, sending postcards to, they are unregistered. They're not like you and me. They are invisible to the system. So they don't get any of those emails, texts, postcards, phone calls. The political communication they get from us may be the only communication they get, which partially explains how effective it is. So we don't abandon them. We double down on them, make sure they get something and bring them into the electorate. Okay. We expected, since the November elections results, we expected backlash to Trump to be swift and profound. It has been. Every election since last November has swung between 11 and 25 points to the left, and Field Team 6 has been helping. Let me share my screen. Just one final word about 24. This also goes to people in the chat saying, then why did we lose? Okay, okay. That is, I want to give that valid question a dignified answer, because it's what all of us felt and sometimes still feel. How can we did everything and we still lost? I guess none of it means anything. It's natural and human to feel that and go through all the stages of grief before acceptance. But when you get to that acceptance, and when this emotional smoke clears, you realize that, let me just take that. I just want to look in your eyes. You realize that everything you did mattered, that we were hit by a global pandemic, and then we were hit by a global political pandemic in which almost every modern democracy's incumbent regime took a hit from grumpy post-COVID, post-inflation electorates. Ours almost escaped it, but did not quite. You do see that Trump won by 6 points in the non-swing states. He won by only 3 in the swing states. That's us. That's the entire resistance, and including Field Team 6. What we did, it did have an effect. The races we won helped buck the trend. Though you can't stop a hurricane, you can build a shelter, and you should, and you need to survive. And that's what we did, a massive shelter, right? And the wins that we got will allow us to take this democracy back and give us a chance at surviving and beating Trump fascism. And here is what I mean. In the Senate, Field Team 6 registered Democrats in these 5 swing Senate races that Democrats won. If we had not won every single race of these 5, we would not have a shot at taking back the Senate in 28. Since we did, we do have that shot, and we are going to take it back. Okay, in the House, you want to know which races Field Team 6 targeted and played in and registered a ton of Democrats in? Swing races, could have gone either way, but a Democrat won. Here they are, 43 seats, okay? So if you're talking about impact, if you're talking about, did it matter? Oh my God, yes, is the answer. It is uncontroversial, it is indisputable that it had a huge effect. In fact, we did what we do the best we have ever done it, the most extensively we've ever done it, and we just want to do better and even break our record this next time. It's a little like saying, I worked out this afternoon. How come I'm not strong? Oh, no. You got to keep on doing this. This is a long-term thing, right? You keep working out, you keep doing this work cycle after cycle, and you watch society change. Okay, so here we go. Here's our strategy for this year. These 4 huge races, they're very important. Wisconsin was in April. The rest are in November. In case you missed it, we won by a landslide, an 11-point landslide in Wisconsin. We're going to try to do the same in the other 3. Super important. New Jersey could go either way. Virginia, we need to keep it blue. If we get a Democratic governor, then we will be able to preserve Virginia as the one state in the South with access to safe legal abortion, among other things. And the Pennsylvania Supreme Court will either stay progressive or flip conservative, depending on what happens in November. So super important. Just to take a very quick look at what we've been doing, because we do not take days, weeks, months, years off like some organizations. We are cranking all the time. Sometimes someone talks to me in an odd number year. They're like, oh, you guys must be going kind of slow right now. Never. We are a 24-hour bar and grill of democracy. We crank all the time. Here's what we've done. For the April elections, hundreds of thousands of texts and emails. Florida, those 2 special elections, those districts, they were super red. We didn't think we were going to win them. They did swing 18 and 19 points to the left. That's huge. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia for later in the year. We've already gotten started on those. This doesn't even take into account the tens of thousands of postcards that have gone out. And we're just getting started in 25, but we are on it. 26, we need to paint the House blue and prime the Senate. We need to flip that House. We need to have a net gain of 1 in the Senate, and that will set us up so that in 28, we can restore a blue trifecta. Keep the House blue, flip the Senate, reclaim the White House. Just to give you an idea of our strategy for 26, it is not just the words paint the house blue. We have it in a nice 4-word strategy. It's easy to remember. And just in case you want to look at the targeting that we employ, we could not be more targeted. That's part of why we are able to stretch every dollar the farthest possible towards winning elections, because we work in the pressure points of the Republican Party, where just a few new votes create a new outcome. We are interested in the fastest route to change. Getting our democracy back is a time-sensitive project. So we put our forces where they are most effective. That's why your donations are so crucial. So in 2026, here are the states where we're not going statewide, but in each of these states, there's at least one swing House district. So we will be operating in that district in each of these states, district, or sometimes there are many districts, as in California and New York. Then we add the ones where there are swing House districts and a key Senate seat. Then we look at the couple that are just for the Senate, don't have any swing House districts. And that's how we get to the 29 states that we are trying to operate in. To break that down, that's 63 swing House districts. And I believe it's 7 Senate races. Don't hold me to that, I need to check. But that is how targeted we are. We are simultaneously executing a 1-year, 2-year, and 4-year strategy. So while we are working on the targets this year, we're also looking forward, and we know that the greatest engine of change is persistence. Do anything 15 minutes a day and you become an expert. It's that philosophy. We register a little at a time, and it adds up to a mountain of voters that will change election results. Let me stop sharing the screen. This is how we save the democracy, by targeting the right people in the right places with the right messaging, using the right outreach method. We have the strategy, we have the tactics. All we need is you to volunteer and donate. If you've donated earlier today, now is a great time to donate again. And same with signing up for an event. Find what looks most appealing to you, sign up for it. Okay, before we open it up to your questions, let's do a quick fundraising check-in. We set the goal this morning at a big, hairy, audacious $25,000. Got it up to 5,000 right away. And then I know we were knocking on, it's about over 9,000. We're knocking on 10,000's door. How are we doing with that?
Would you say that we're halfway through the event today, Jason?
I would.
Well, we have raised almost exactly 12,000. It's half of what our goal is, $12,685 from 154 individuals.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, 154 people.
Halfway in, we got half the money. That's pretty good, right? There's 452 people on this on the call. Not everybody can donate, right? Not everybody has money to donate. That's not possible. Some people don't have any money, or they've donated to somewhere else, which is also valuable, right?
Absolutely.
But everybody knows somebody. You don't have to donate yourself. It counts if you send somebody else the link. That
Totally.
totally counts.
Totally. We give you all the credit for that.
Absolutely.
So yes, send it to everyone you know. Let them know what crucial work this is, and that we move the needle. We are getting it done because fascism ends at the ballot box. It will end finally with the voters. And you, by helping us, by volunteering, by donating, you are helping register the voters that will end this fascist coup attempt and bring us back to the real world, the dimension we're supposed to be in. All right. Yes, the voters you register, you help us register, could literally be the ones who swing a House or a Senate race. So, okay, let's do some Q&A, and let's get Dale back up here, and let's definitely bring Patty up here for the tough questions specifically. All right. What do we got?
All right, I'm gonna start with some questions of my own just to kind of punch some things home, right? So first of all, Patty, how many people did we reach out to in the 22 cycle?
5,000,000.
How many did we want to reach out to in the 24 cycle?
10,000,000.
How many people did we actually reach out to in the 24 cycle?
26,000,000.
Very good. Okay. What is it, Patty? Well, maybe I should ask this one to you, Jason, because this is a very difficult one. What is it that Field Team 6 does?
We register Democrats. We do partisan.
I would also accept partisan voter registration. This may become important because I think we're going to have a pop quiz a little later in the event where we're going to give away prizes to people who get this answer right. At least one, maybe two people could win a Field Team 6 Registered Democrats t-shirt in their own size if they get this answer right. So hopefully you were paying attention. What is it that we do? It's partisan voter registration. You can also use our tagline, which is Register Democrats Save the World. That also counts. Okay. I also want to ask another question because there's lots of questions in the chat, and the chat is very vibrant. One of the problems with the chat is it's very vibrant because people don't necessarily listen to what's being presented. So I just want to give people a chance to hear this one more time. If they're really interested in knowing the effectiveness of our outreach for the 24 cycle, can we just tell them, Patty?
Eventually,
Yes,
and not
that's correct.
now,
That's
not
that's right.
yet,
We
because
want to.
right, and the secretaries of state. And again, we have our full data set of 42,000,000 names, our 26,000,000 new names, and 16,000,000 ongoing names from prior cycles out right now, being compared to 50 states and 5 territories, voter registration rolls and voting history rolls. And until you have both complete, you can't do the analytics. We have some wonderful, careful scientific studies ready to go and operating, but you got to wait. And it just drove us out of our minds to think that we couldn't share the results today, but we're not the boss of that, as I tell my grandkids.
Right. And you should know that we have been working day and night, literally for weeks on everything that preparing our data, so getting everything ready so that we can have that answer as soon as humanly possible. And we will get that to you as soon as we can.
Yes.
Can't
yes,
wait to find that out ourselves.
Yes.
Thank you for the donation, Elise, and thank you in the chat, everyone who's donating. It helps so much. Like I said, every $1,000 allows us to text 25,000 people. That's not the only thing we do, of course. It allows us to email tens of thousands of people. It allows us to keep the infrastructure, our tech stack, all the tech that we use, the database of our 25 million unregistered likely Democrats. All of that is what you enable by donating. So yes, please keep donating. It's wonderful to see. Next question. I know
Okay,
a little
so
late for the next one, but we need to take a few questions.
yeah, we're gonna take just a few questions and then we're gonna jump to our next thing. But I'll do these very quickly. How do you decide which races we're playing in as Field Team 6?
Yes. Okay. So to start, the criterion is pretty simple. It's races that federal races, Senate or House races that we won or lost the last time by 8 points or less. That's the basic criterion. And there are other factors. Sometimes there's something specific. There's an amazing candidate that gives us a shot at winning something we wouldn't normally, something like that. So there is some flexibility in that, but that's basically what we start with to generate that map I showed you.
How do we find new 18-year-old eligible voters?
Very good question. They are diabolically difficult to find. We do have data for them, and that's part of why we need to raise money so we can keep on buying lists, because every year 8 million new people turn 18. So we need to get the data on them that we can get. There is not data on all of them. They're young, so they have less of a data footprint. They haven't been around as long. But we do everything we can to prioritize buying their data and doing the outreach to contact them. Also, that's why in-person voter drives are so helpful on college campuses, especially back to school, any semester of the year. They are super effective.
All right, let's take two more questions. How can I share Patty and Jason's presentation when I call into progressive radio shows tomorrow? I love this question.
Do we love this person?
Yes.
Obviously. And of course, the summit videos and the slides and things like that are all going to be packaged and made available, little YouTube segments and uploads of the slides. But we're happy to share this as far as it goes, even though we don't have our results yet. We just have our, our outreach numbers. But I'll leave it to you, Dale, to technically answer about how soon you can expect it. But the slides are ready to go, and if somebody wants to get a copy of them so that they can read the numbers on their progressive radio shows, you go. Awesome.
Yes,
Very
that's
good. Yeah,
awesome.
just reach out to partnerships@fieldteam6.org and we'll hook you up. All right, last question. How did Republicans register more Republicans in the 24 cycle than Field Team 6 did, registering Democrats and
Boy,
progressive?
that was a stealth thing. People were watching all these failed, ridiculous canvassing operations in various states and things like that. And what they weren't watching is Republicans who never stopped doing partisan voter reg. We were the fair-minded guys who were just doing nonpartisan voter reg. They never stopped doing the other kind. Since I remember picnics as a child and seeing, GOP tables registering people to be Republicans. So anyway, they just have been really efficient. And they also rely on some of their organizations like evangelical churches and other things like that to absolutely keep it going and to pull in the 18-year-olds, et cetera. So there's a whole ecosystem on the other side that we don't have on our side, and I wish we did.
Patty, thank you so much. Jason, thank you so much. We are running a little bit late, so I need to go to the next panel. I want to introduce right now comedian, writer, director, producer, and creator of the fantastic LA group Improv for the People, Matt Moore. Why improv? Because at Field Team 6, joy is a core value. Joy is an act of resistance. Everything we do is from a place of joy. Also, the improv mantra is yes and. You say yes to whatever comes, no matter how weird or unexpected, and then you build on it. In our insane world, this might be the most useful skill possible. So, improv applies in the most direct, concrete way to everything we do. Okay, Matt, the stage is yours, and thank you for the delay. I'm sorry we started late, and it's good to see you.
No, it's all good. Thank you, Dale. It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody at Field Team 6. Jason, thanks for the opportunity and everyone there. So I'm with everyone for, I don't know, about 20 minutes. So we're going to take a 20-minute little break from all the fantastic, I've been with you guys for a while this morning today, the fantastic numbers and results. And we're going to have a little fun right now. And as Dale mentioned, why improv? Why improv at a Field Team 6 big Zoom call here? Because the foundations of improv help us connect and collaborate with others very quickly. And I think you'll agree with me that in our work of volunteering, that can be very effective, right? So we're going to practice and learn a couple of improv techniques today that when we're out in the field and doing our volunteering, we can put into place, and hopefully that will help us reach some good goals, right? So, but from here on out, it's all fun, okay, for another 20 minutes. So I'm sure many of us on the Zoom today have heard about the good communication skill of yes and. Dale just mentioned it. Yes, I hear what you, my scene partner, I say scene partner, my communication partner is saying, and this is what I'd like to add to it. So I know a lot of you have heard of that. Maybe you're already using that in your communication practices. We're going to practice it a little today together, all in good fun. So because I don't have a ton of time, I'm just going to get rolling here. So I would like to bring up Jason. Can someone pop up Jason Berlin with Matthew Moore? Is that possible on this thing? Jason.
Fancy
Hello.
you here.
Nice to see you. First of all, I am going to open a new business. It's going to be called the 24-Hour Bar and Grill of Democracy. And you get free beer. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We are going to work on this concept of yes.
I'd like to place an order for roast Trump, please.
Yes, that's comp for you, Gina. That is free for you. Free for all of us. Jason, let's do a fun. By the way, I want to mention, again, another reason why we're doing this. The couple of concepts that we look at in practice today, yeah, they're all in good fun. There's no consequences. We can fail. We can just have some laughs. But I want all of us to be thinking, how can we transfer these communication skills over to our volunteer work? Okay, that's really what we're doing here today. Okay, so Jason, let's say the two of us are strangers in a park. Okay, and we're going to use the improv concept of yes and to get very connected very quickly. And by that, I mean, I'm going to have the first line of the scene, and we're not Matt and Jason anymore. We're two strangers. And whatever piece of information I offer, I'd like you to start your response to me with the two words, yes, and then add some information. Okay. And then I'm going to listen to you because yes, and requires that we really listen to each other. Then I'm going to say the two words, yes, and I'm going to add to it. Okay, we're going to go on and so forth with yes anding. So I'll begin, and you'll have the first line of yes and. Okay. Hey, Bill, the sun is really bright today.
Yes, and Keith, I can't believe I forgot to wear clothes.
Yes, and I'm not sure if it's legal to be out here with no clothes on.
Yes, and thank God there is an
Thank God there's no laws anymore because Trump is in charge.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yes, and thank God I am the police chief.
Yes, and you'll have to give yourself a ticket.
Yes, and can I borrow your pan?
Yes, and I'm getting out of here.
Yes, and you should.
Okay, good. Jason, really quick, it's a simple exercise. Any thoughts on your end when it comes to yes and communication?
It's such a good practice. Just I love it. It just opens you up. Whatever is coming, it just forces you to accept it, not argue with it, and you can redirect it. It's like spiritual Aikido.
Yeah, good. Sometimes a lot of times that conflict arises in communication when one person doesn't feel heard, right? No matter what we're saying, if somebody doesn't feel heard, they immediately shut down and they become defensive, right? So if we have this mindset of yes and, it helps us, get connected in a sense of positivity. Notice I didn't say agreement; I said positivity. So we can have we have a shot at some good communication. Okay, even if people are at odds with one another. All right, good. Let's move on. Let's do one more of those yes and. Let's do a quick one. Dale, can I have you up with me?
I was not
Dale.
prepared.
You're not prepared. Good. Who's prepared for anything, right? So let's do another quick yes and then we're going to level up and go to another improv exercise and technique. Okay, so Dale, let's say that the two of us are, let's say we are at odds about something, and I would love to open it up to the chat. We just simply don't have time. That's all it is. So Dale, I'm going to ask you, let's say you and I are friends. What's going on between the two of us? We are friends, but what's going on between the two of us where we might be at odds? Because I want to use the concept of yes and in a situation where we're not completely in agreement all the time? You just make it up.
We're throwing a dinner party and we can't agree on pasta.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So I will let you start, Dale, with the first line, whatever you want, and then we'll say yes and after that.
I love lasagna. I have always loved lasagna, and I think everybody loves lasagna. People love lasagna.
Yes, and I hear what you're saying, but you know what? We've had lasagna the last 3 dinner parties. It's getting a little old.
Yes, and remember how everybody loved the lasagna. They come to our dinner parties because of the lasagna.
Yes, I get you have a point. I would like to introduce, let's keep lasagna and then add some penne pasta. We can agree, right?
Yes, yes. And could it be penne?
Yes, it could be that or another pasta, but anything other than the same old, same old.
Yes, and we should also have caprese salad.
Yes, and I'm not sure that's in the budget, but we can look at that.
Yes, and we should look at the budget because we've spent so much on lasagna already this
Good,
year.
good. We'll stop there. Fun little lasagna exercise with yes and. Yeah, Dale, can you pop back up?
I'm
I
not in control of that, but yes.
Oh, okay. Whoever's
And
in control, I appreciate that. How is that, given that I know these are simple examples, they're a little ridiculous, but they do transfer over into more serious communication moments, right? How is that for you, given the fact that you and I were at odds a little bit?
Interestingly, because of the yes and, it doesn't really feel like we're at odds.
Good. Yeah.
Even though we may not be agreeing about everything at every time, it does feel like you're listening to me. You are agreeing with the points that I'm making. I'm agreeing with the points that you're making. We got somewhere with a varied meal planning, and it didn't feel argumentative.
That is a big takeaway today from our very short time together, right? So yes, and before we move on, because I have another communication tool I want to practice. Yes, and does not mean yes, I hear you and I agree with you, right? That can happen, and when that happens, hey, easy street. But what it also means is yes. What it really means is yes, I hear you, and this is what I would like to add, whether I agree with you or not. That acknowledgement of hearing another person goes a long way for successful communication. Okay, so great, Dale. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes, and we should get some of our other players into this because
Yes,
they're waiting in the wings.
we're going to do it right now.
I'm going to get out of here.
Get out of here. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's, Kala, are you around? Can somebody pop Kala up for me? Kala. Hey, Kala, how are you?
I'm good.
Great. We're going to add, thank you for helping me here. We're going to add to the concept of yes and we're going to build on that. And now we're going to do an exercise called repeat add. Repeat add. Okay. So the technique of this is this. Kala, I'm going to give us a relationship or some sort of suggestion. So we're not Kala and Matt anymore. Okay. I'm going to let you have the first line. Before I respond, I'm going to repeat a little bit of what you offered. So you know that you're comfortable in knowing that I heard you. Okay. Before I add what I'd like to add. And then you're going to return the favor. You're going to repeat a little bit what I said before you move on, and so on and so forth. I'm not suggesting that you have to say it word for word what I said or vice versa. Just say enough that we both know that we heard each other. Okay. So let's say that the two of us are, let's say we're neighbors. Okay, we're neighbors, and there's something going on between the two of us. And we're going to use the concept of repeat add whenever you're ready.
Steve, I think we really need to talk about the fact that your dog broke my fence the other day.
Yeah, Linda, I know my Great Dane is pretty big, and I know he did some damage to your fence. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty responsible for it.
I really appreciate you taking responsibility, and I would love to understand what the next steps are for you to repair my fence.
Okay, Linda. So, this all just kind of happened this morning. So I'm still kind of thinking about some things. But how about this? How about I put together, maybe I'm going to call my insurance, then I'll call you. Let's say by the end of tomorrow, maybe I can get some information to you.
The end of tomorrow, that seems totally reasonable. I am going out of town the next day, so it'd be great if you could get it to me by then.
Oh, okay. So you have a hard timeline. That's what I'm hearing. You're going out of town. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the insurance company will get back to me that quickly, but if they don't, I'm going to call you either way.
I really appreciate the open lines of communication. We've always been friends, and thanks for keeping me posted on everything.
Happy to keep you posted. Also, while I have you, I'm going out of town myself next week. Can you watch my dog that week?
I don't think that's a good idea, Steve.
Okay, good. We'll stop there. Yeah, great. I tried to pawn off my big dog on my neighbor there to see if maybe he'll tear up the rest of your fence. Kala, great with. I felt very connected to you because we're verbally connected. What do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, it really, like, just restating what you said in my own words made me feel like I wasn't gonna be as angry as you because I was kind of adopting your point of view.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's a great observation. Yeah, I felt like that could quickly have turned into. I know again, I'll repeat. I know these are a little bit ridiculous and silly scenarios, but we're learning. Um, that could quickly have turned into something really negative, and it didn't. And I think we'll have a positive outcome because of it. So thank you for that, Kyle. I appreciate it. Let's do one more. Let's bring up Greg Millman. Greg Millman, where's Greg Millman?
I'm here.
Hey,
How
hello,
you doing?
Greg. Good. Thank you for popping up. If we can get you up there, you were there, and
I disappeared.
then you disappeared. Hi. Oh, then you disappeared again.
God.
Greg, I won't take that personally. Thank you for volunteering.
Yes.
And yes, and Gina, you have so much energy. I love it. Let's get Gina up here. I don't know if it's possible for all three of us to be on the screen. I suppose it is.
Of
Gina
course
Harris?
it is.
Of course it is. Gina Harris. Is she still with us? Maybe not. Okay. Well, if Gina pops back in, we might grab her a little bit later. But Greg, for now, I was going to have Gina do this with you, but I'm going to do it with you.
All right.
So, all right. So, Greg, let's do another repeat ad situation. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say that let's say we're at in an interview. Okay. I'm just making up these suggestions on the fly here. Let's say you and I are one of us is being interviewed by the other person. Let's say you're interviewing me for
Okay.
a job, okay?
Excellent.
And yeah, and we'll employ the technique of repeat ad. You saw the one with Kala, yes?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Perfect. So let's have you start with any line you want and then
Excellent.
repeat a little bit of each other's information. Go
Cool.
ahead.
Well, thanks for coming to Starbucks today. And I hear you're interested in being a barista here.
Well, thanks for having me, Mr. Johnston. I am interested in being a barista. Big fan of coffee, big fan of service.
Excellent. I love that you're a big fan of coffee. What's your go-to drink if you pop into Starbucks?
Oh yeah, my go-to. You're asking me my go-to drink. Definitely a triple hot, triple steam, double latte with low fat milk.
Excellent. Okay. So what would a very complicated order, I might add. So what if you didn't quite get the order that someone gave you and it was that complicated, what would you say as a barista?
Oh, if I'm the barista and my
Mhm.
customer didn't get it right, so you're
No, no,
asking
no.
what
You didn't understand what they ordered. How do you handle it?
Thank you for clearing that up. I was confused. Now I understand. If I was the barista and I didn't understand their order, I would ask them, maybe make a little joke about it and say, "Hey, listen, Go up here is nuts. Can you just repeat that for me? And I think this time I'll write it down so I get your order exactly right.
I love that. That's great. Using a little humor is super helpful. Another question is, what if somebody gets a little bit impatient or rude? What can you do to sort of smooth out the situation?
Well, if a customer at Starbucks gets impatient or rude, first of all, that would probably be the first time that has ever happened. Um, I would just thank them. And at Starbucks, we ask their name. So I'd use their name because sometimes people like hearing their names. Not sometimes, they always do. And, maybe I would offer them something on the house if it's pretty, if it's somewhat drastic kind of thing, just to win them back so they come again.
Right. Excellent. I love that. Not sure we should be giving away free stuff, but I think it's a great idea. We can run it by the board and see what they think.
So what you're saying, Mr. Johnson, is you're not yes-anding the free stuff. Is that what I'm understanding?
We'll put a little asterisk. Yes, maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, Greg. We'll stop there. My favorite thing, let's chat a little bit, Greg, with you before you disappear. I think my favorite part of that exercise is it looked to me like you were looking down at paperwork, and I thought, oh my gosh, do you have questions for a Starbucks employee already prepared?
No, unfortunately. I wish I had something prepared. It would have gone a lot better.
No, you did great. I disagree. You did great. What are your thoughts, communication theory-wise, on that concept?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think especially for what Field Team 6 does. Like it really makes you listen actively because you can't be like ready to make your own point no matter what they said. You kind of have to listen and process it for a second. So it makes, I don't know, it just makes for a more thoughtful interaction that seems like a two-way street. And it really forces you to be present because you're like, wait, I'm gonna have to mimic, say something back that this person just said, and even if it's not the most important part of what they said, I think just them hearing something that you heard something, keeps the conversation sort of moving along. So I think both these improv techniques are awesome for Field Team 6ers. Yeah.
Greg,
Good.
can you stay up, Greg? And then can we add Eric to this? And Matt, do you want to give Greg and Eric a scene?
I think that's perfect. And with the time remaining with me, I'd like to even change up the exercise. Thank you, Dale, for that. Hi, Eric. Thank you for popping up here.
Hi, Matt.
So, hi there. We're going to add, by the way, very quickly before we do the next and last exercise together, no one is suggesting, certainly I'm not suggesting, or anyone at Improv for the People is suggesting, that we walk around the world saying yes and what that means is, okay? That would be weird if we were doing that, but it's a good thing, a mental space to be in. Also, when it comes to yes and, there are also times in life to say no. And so I don't want to be the guy that thinks, oh, we got to leave here. This guy says we have to say yes to everything. That is not the case. Okay. There are obviously appropriate times to say no to things. All right, let's move on. We have one last improv technique to put on its feet, and that's called what that means is. Okay. So we have Eric and Greg. They're going to do this exercise together. And we took yes and we practiced it. We took repeat add, we practiced it. Now we're going to level up one more time, and with the concept of what that means is. So I'm going to set the two of you up. The two of you are carpooling. You carpool every morning. You know each other. You carpool every morning. Okay. And Greg, you're going to have the first line, whatever a guy might say to his carpool mate there. And then Eric, you're going to listen to that, and you're going to say the words "what that means is," and you're going to finish that. And then Greg, you're going to hear that and say, what that means is, and you're going to finish that, and so on and so forth. We'll just do a few back and forths. Okay. Greg, let's have you start.
Cool. Eric, man, I'm totally dreading work today. Just don't want to be there at all.
Yeah. What that means is you need a change of career, my friend.
That could be very true. I think what that means is I need to have another session with my therapist and reevaluate my life decisions for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and what that means is you're probably gonna have to budget a little bit more for mental health this month.
I
So
was literally going to say, yeah, the added expense. I think what that means is I cannot afford to quit my job right now. I definitely need I need the health insurance for the therapy.
Good.
yeah, and what that means is you're gonna A, have to suck it up, and or B, move to Canada where this shit's covered. I mean,
Yeah.
We're,
Yeah.
we're going to
Mhm.
stop there. We're going to stop there. I know all of us want to jump on that one and talk for another 3 hours about it. Yeah, very good. Great listening, great connecting. Eric, any thoughts from you?
it's as a communication skill, I think it's really useful to be in that moment, and then having to, when you say what that means is that puts your brain in a place, or at least it put my brain in a place of having to really think about what that person just said rather than blowing over it, which I think a lot of us do in conversation, where we're someone's saying something, we're already thinking about how we're going to counter it or something like that. But this really makes you think about what it is they said, and getting back to them in that context.
Yeah, it kind of makes you synthesize like what you wanted to say, but you have to like process what they said and frame it up. And like, yeah, again, it's a really good communication building device. I love that.
Great. Yeah, I love that debrief. It's spot on. Thank you both for jumping up here, and the others. It's a joy to be with Field Team 6. I have a great respect for what we're all doing, and to that, I will throw it back to
Me.
Dale. Yes.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to Kala, to Eric, to Greg, to Gina, who all participated. Thank you to Jason. Um, Thank you, Matt. Improv for the People, great improv organization here in Los Angeles. Kala's a big fan, goes every week, comes back happy. So thanks for being here with us, Matt, and thanks for giving us some more skills